In times where middle and lower class Americans are struggling to meet ends meet, while America is in an attempt to overcome the Great Recession and overcome the $14 trillion worth of debt, we ask you, is increasing space exploration a necessity? Will it help the cause of wealth gap, inflation, or any type of direct benefit of Americans? No. Space travel should be on the lower list of priorities for the U.S. government. Sure, we agree it's important, but right now in today's society, it should not be on the top of the list. We, the negative side, argue that although unmanned space travel has some attractive benefits, it would simply put America into a worse state economically than it's in, and would just bring about more questions that need to be answered. Support for unmanned space travel for space exploration would be redundant and unnecessary, considering what already takes place, impractical and illogical for the debt, and would ignore more essential and direct problems that should be addressed first. Our first contention is that support for unmanned space travel would be redundant and unnecessary. In other words, we feel what is in place is completely fine. As stated earlier by my partner Alan, NASA already has 65 space missions intact as we speak and currently hold a budget of roughly $18 trillion. These numbers are completely fine where they reside, and it's plenty to promote and start space exploration. The negative side feels there is no need to raise these numbers as they are more than serviceable for the priority of the cause. Anything significantly more than what the status quo offers would just have a worse effect on NASA. Specifically, they would have management problems. Adding to the already sufficient amount of unmanned missions would just make it more difficult for NASA to regulate and would reduce the effectiveness of each probe. Secondly, although we believe space exploration is important, we feel there are other more relevant and timely issues that are affecting U.S. citizens much more directly that must be addressed first. To begin with, the United States sides in a colossal amount of debt that is undoubtedly number one on their list of priorities. Support for unmanned space travel would simply be illogical and would go against the main task of our government today. The government needs to find other ways to support space exploration that does not go against the cause of taking down the debt, something the affirmative side fails to fulfill. You see, many topics, as stated earlier by my partner, such as poverty, wealth gap, national debt, and diseases that currently directly negatively affect our nation, need to be addressed and fixed. The affirmatives' focus avoid these problems and demand support behind something less relevant with today's society. We rule the affirmatives' philosophy and plan as impractical, and therefore would like to take the path of inherency, and believe that the U.S. federal government should promote space exploration through private industry, not manned space travel, and use the saved money to fund any type of cause or charitable organization, such as breast cancer, or even funding something like infrastructure that would provide direct benefits for the people. The negatives counterplan does not add any money to the vast amount of debt. It's less spending, yet still promotes space exploration, a win-win situation. Plus, we'd use the money that would be spent on unmanned space travel for more direct, practical things that will help solve modern problems in America. Our counterplan does not demand money from U.S. citizens' tax dollars, yet still promotes space exploration, and directly benefits our nation as a whole much more sufficiently. In conclusion, we feel that support for an increase in space exploration through unmanned space travel is impractical, illogical, and undesirable because of its effects on the national debt, its redundancy, and the fact that there are other larger problems at stake in today's society. That's why the negatives counterplan of support through private industry fits well. It's still supporting space exploration, but at the same time, it's not harming the debt and allows the government to spend money that would be used on unmanned space travel on other things that would greatly help U.S. citizens today, like infrastructure, or funding the common diseases that would help the welfare of our nation. Thank you, and vote negative.